take a ride into the grid where the future is alive. We're talking about the Web3 revolution, energy systems in a deep evolution. Yeah, it's a digital symphony, a decentralized energy in the world of connection. So South is our destination. Web3 fascination. Get ready for the revolution. Here we go.
At last, the 18th episode of Source Talk is here, the podcast where the future of energy unfolds. Source Talk is focused on Web3, DePIN, DGen, Sourceful, and everything related. How are you guys? Frederick, Joachim, welcome.
Thank you, and I'm good. How are you, Frederick?
All good. It's I would say steady progress forward. So and that's what we like. So all is good.
Did you notice that I added DGen to the intro?
I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are proper DGens now, or what's up with the term DGen?
I actually did discuss this with Jason at Daylight just the other day, and it's a fun term. I would say that not everyone agrees that this is a good term because we are into a territory when we might confuse people and maybe even provoke some people. Well, anyhow, I don't think the DGens are like easily provoked anyhow. So I feel like it's, but it definitely confuse. So DGen, for those of you that are listening in, is like degenerates, like people that make really bad trades and sort of just YOLO their day into Bitcoin and whatever or meme coins, I would say probably is the thing.
Yeah,
and
what
and
we
it's
are
also
talking
this decentralized generative energy. Hope I got that right.
Yeah, and the abbreviation is with a capitalized G, E, and N, like DePIN, DGen for the energy sector. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But talking about it might be hard, but seeing it in written text, it's easier to distinguish from DGens. So yeah. Well,
We'll
Joachim,
see if it sticks.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see.
exactly. It's all in good spirit. But yeah, speaking of DGens, Solana Breakpoint coming up. And from the looks of it, there will be plenty of side events. So if anyone is there in Singapore, please drop by.
Do you have a list of side events where we will attend? So maybe we should put that in our, like if we have any community members that actually are in Singapore and they want to meet us, maybe we should have a list that we can communicate with the community to say like, we're attending this and this and this.
Yeah, we will have that starting next week.
Yeah.
It depends on really what we are attending also. Nothing is really written in stone yet. So, but yeah, definitely we'll have that for the community starting next week. And also, rushing things a little bit, we have released a firmware patch, which means that all the pre-purchased gateways have been automatically updated as usual, but the DIYers need to update their firmware before September 2nd, or else they will go offline until updated. So for those for our DIYers, be sure to pull the latest GitHub repository and rebuild the container.
What is that firmware? Is there any big news, or is it mostly like backend stuff? Or
it's mostly backend stuff. We're moving from testnet to mainnet, so basically no change for the actual end user, but it's a big step for us. So
yeah, it makes testing easier in the future.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of gateways and firmwares and things like that, beta program. And I looked at the list yesterday of those who have already applied, and we have plenty of applications now, and a really diverse list of setups as well, which is really good for us. So
yeah, and the beta program, that's the beta program version 2. So with dual mining on rock hotspots with Helium IoT.
And
We
now
do.
Rock, it's actually also the link that went to the Energy Gateway on Rock, like Rock Wireless homepage. That's all actually updated now, and they are now referring back to the beta program and like buy a minted or a Rock hotspot version 2. So that is now clear. It has been a little bit of a confusion. Like we got inbound questions like it's out of stock and all that. That shouldn't be a confusion anymore, hopefully, because we won't continue with this like Solaris batch. It will be dual mining, and that's I believe is the best way to go forward. So
And we do get a lot of questions about other hardware as well, Bobcats and Freedom Fi and things like that. And in the end, it's really not up to us what hardware we can support, because it's up to the manufacturer in the end. And but just to make things clear, right now it's Rock Wireless Hotspot version 2 exclusive. But what will happen in the future, we honestly don't know yet.
yeah, I could hint some things, and then that we are working with I would say a company that might have I would say a multi-mining firmware solution, which might work on, I would say, other models. So, but what we need is a partner that is actually the one that is sort of responsible for the firmware updates and like the support. We are not that entity, the same as Helium. When Rock or any manufacturer are selling these devices, they take support and also updates of I would say the base operating system and update the firmware. So that's what we need as well. We can't just push, otherwise we would have to take like the full support for all the firmware, which we haven't built ourselves, on hardware, which we also haven't built ourselves, which wouldn't make sense. So that's why we need to take this track. But like rest assured, as Joachim said, like there are like discussions ongoing, and if you have a hotspot model that isn't supported, I think the best way is to try to reach out to the manufacturer and ask them, and like we have an email partnership at Srcful.io. Push them that way, and we can have a discussion. And I would say it's pretty straightforward to actually implement our firmware into the existing stack. So please push them our way, and we'll try our absolute best to make it happen.
Also mentioning about the beta program, the ETA right now is October. So if you want to make sure to join in on the beta, make sure to post your application. But like I said previously, this is our first podcast since the HIP passed. So I'm guessing that's our main focus for this episode. So what has happened and what's going to happen? What are we doing?
Yeah. From a high level overview, we have to sort of look back a little bit, because I've been part of podcasts and such also. So you would probably, if you want to learn more about the HIP and all that, you could also listen into the Proof of Coverage podcast, where we dove into a little bit of details. So we won't take like the full story here. I just assume that the community that we're speaking to now, that have been like listening into this, you might be aware of what has been happening, and we have informed in the Discord server and such. So but to make it very condensed, like what we did was to propose an improvement proposal of a new subnetwork in the Helium ecosystem, the Helium community. This was also from a high level a way for us to be part of the community and like create this new subnetwork, when the community essentially will be the ones that are creating the token, the energy token. We, as Srcful, the company in Sweden, will operate as the service provider. the community and the foundation is this non-profit organization, which is like governed by the community, and we will operate as a for-profit company, as like the ones that are actually building the protocol and so. But much like Nova Labs is for Helium Mobile. That's like, think about Helium Mobile and put Nova Labs at the side, which is the ones that are operating the business. We will essentially do the same thing, but we will have Helium and an energy set network and then Srcful. So that is from the high level perspective what we did propose for the community. And without going into the very specifics of the tokenomics and everything, it's like we reward users for connecting their distributed energy resources, theirs. We reward them for data, for having them connected, and we will give them also, like, we will give you rewards in this proposal also for participating in various energy services, which could be a VPP service or sharing data and such. That's from the high level perspective, without diving too specific into the tokenomics. That was passed, which was super cool. We spent a lot of time on writing the HIP. This process started I would say, I think in March, April this year. And we spent hours, weeks and months on actually making this something that we could sort of push in. And then we went public with this in the summer. I don't remember the date now. Obviously, it's easy to check because we can just go into Helium and check on the GitHub. Was it in June, I think?
Mid-July, I would.
Yeah,
depends on, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was, yeah, and then the process of informing the community and in discussing this. And if you're interested, please join in and to the Helium Discord server. And if you have a lot of time on your hand, you could start reading from the start, and you won't be finished until it's a lot to read. But to condense the information that has been, the discussions that has been in the Helium Discord is that at start, many didn't understand. That's what we see. It's a complex area with energy. Most people, they pay for energy and they don't care too much about it. It's just something that is expensive and, well, get it over with. And even the complexity of the energy market isn't known for anyone outside the energy market, which is actually interesting. So we're doing something that is a little bit hard, I would say, educating people about this. So that's been the story, trying to explain the business idea and what we're actually doing. And during this I would say, community approach, a lot of advancement was made in the HIP. So we changed quite significant, not significant, but a lot of small changes in the HIP. And a couple of them which are a little bit more significant as well, I think, in tokenomics and such. This has been a really, really good journey. And I could just speak from the business perspective of actually developing this idea. This is really showing your throat bare for the whole world, the community, for criticism and skepticism. And that has been a journey. So you get a lot of, I would say, negative feedback, people that don't believe in this. They sort of they try to find every little wording that could be something they could complain about, they will do. And you'll have to answer everything and go through that. This is now done. We eventually landed in that let's do the vote, because we adapted, we changed, we actually, me and Tobias, we went to San Francisco, we worked together with the foundation on site for 1.5 weeks. So we actually spent a lot of time together and trying to dive into this back and forth. The vote started, and it perhaps in the beginning it was very, very high, 99% in favor. And then there were some no-sayers that came in, and we ended up in a discussion, and eventually we could see that we passed it, and I would say with a quite significant number as well, like over 80%, 83% or something like that in favor. And the interesting thing, if you look at the statistics, obviously people vote with wallets. You won't be able to find like which individual voted and how many individuals. You can only count this the HNT, like the power of the HNT that you have locked into the system. But what you could see if you look at these numbers from a rough view is that then I would say the yes side, like in favor of the proposal, that was the many and the numerous. Obviously, some larger wallets was totally in favor, but that was always a steady rise. You could see that like a lot of these small numerous. So you could think like from just looking at the data, like the many were voting in favor, and the very few were voting in against. So, and if you look like this from the big perspective, it's probably actually one wallet that had made an impact on the no side. I think I know who it might be, but that's not for this podcast. But that's actually a really interesting thing, that we got a lot of support from the community, and it absolutely feels that this is something that the community wants. So that's super. We don't know exactly how everything is going to look. You never know. We are now on a path of something that is like a big change for Helium. This is, I would say, as big for Helium as it is for us, because this is the next next subnetwork which is not wireless that joins in. So, but yeah, there is a lot of similarities. We will essentially be building infrastructure, linking physical resources, and it will eventually all be about data anyhow. So there are a lot of things that are the same also, and also multi-mining using the same hardware, leveraging both networks for anti-gaming, and like there are loads of things which makes sense when you think of this from the bigger perspective.
And I actually mentioned this on Discord as well, because like you said, it's a big thing for Helium as well as for us. But I believe also this is actually pushing Helium forward as well, because if you look at solar installations across the globe, many of them are installed in like rural areas and not urban areas. And that would also push like the Helium network, the IoT network as well. So you'll get coverage in areas where you usually don't see it as of right now. So I'm guessing that's also a really good feature of us joining Helium.
Yeah. Utilizing hardware that already exists. That's, I think, a very like solid point, which is essentially good for everyone in the community, that the hardware that is deployed can be used for more purposes and bring more value into the same ecosystem and hardware that is already utilized. So from the big perspective, it all makes very, very much sense. But there's loads of things. I know that you're going to ask about when's the token generation event, when the end of the beta program. But what it's loads of things that needs to be like built before, I would say, we go live. This is not straightforward, as we also are not a wireless network that joins in. We need to think about things. One extra step, I think.
But speaking of timeframes, then I'm guessing there needs to be at least another HIP before we can implement this.
Yes, there will be, and the community vote was in favor. That means that, the community wants an energy network, and that's clear. Now we need to propose the details of how to implement this. And when I say the details, like there will be like smart programs on Solana that is calculating rewards from like the baseline rewards and all the other rewards. And there needs to be an oracle that is set up that decides on how much rewards that are actually going to the users. And even if all these things are written in the current state of the HIP, they need to be more detailed written on like how are we actually going to implement this? Who is going to operate this oracle? How are these things going to work out? So there will be like, I would say a push button, like a hip that pushes the button for going live, if you're going to explain that, an implementation hip. And that has been the case also for previous networks, like in Helium, like when mobile, there was first the idea of having this, and then like, here's the implementation, here's how we actually are going to implement it. And then we can push the button after we vote this hip. So I would say this hip is not written yet. We still have work to do. My best guess would be that we are like I wouldn't say guess because it's a bad word here. Our plan at the moment is to have this on, I would say, on the table before end of year. That would say the implementation hip would probably happen in December. And the token generation event, when we actually go live, will happen soon after. Like it wouldn't make any sense to wait this out any longer. That means that maybe the TGE would happen maybe very like in the end of this year or early next year. Q1 2025 would be a thing that we could probably confidently say. This means that there are a couple of milestones that we're working with that, yeah, we need to reach a certain threshold. I won't give you any numbers in this podcast because we are discussing them, but let's say we need a significant amount of beta users before it makes sense to go live. Like there are a couple of things, I would say more than 500 beta users, probably up to 1,000. But there are a couple of factors that we need to sort of think about when we scale this. But it wouldn't make sense to go live with a network that we have too few users on, because we need to test a lot of things, and we need to also work with anti-gaming. We need to know how we implement things and how we scale things. That's really like the point of the beta program. So I would say that you can participate today, be part of the beta program. You will be so valuable, and we will reward you with tokens on DevNet, which we already have written into tokenomics. Like you will be able to get energy tokens after the token generation event from the beta program. So the TGE will, yeah. So we are sort of live in the beta program, but beta program, a lot of things can happen, a lot of things can be changed, and maybe uptime at this moment is something that things can go down, and so that's really the point of it. And the strategy now is like push as many, would say, as many DERs and data points as possible. We'll focus on data first. That's a very tangible thing to build and do well. That's where we're going to focus first. So we don't expect that we're going to build that VPP global from day one. That won't be possible. We will scale and with like data first, build a product, then we'll take the next step. So
and it could also be interesting to mention that now we are going this route together with Helium. We also, I mean, the governance model is a pretty important part of this as well. And what the governance model does is it gives stability as well to the network. We will not be able to kind of like just make a totally game-changing change overnight and then the network is something else, because we will need to go through in the beginning now with HIP proposals for the Helium network. But when we are live, when we get this token up and running, then we will be able to have the governance in energy instead of in the helium. So everything related to the energy network will be voted on using energy tokens. And of course, beta users will have a pretty big say in the beginning, since beta users will be the ones with tokens. Also try to like engage in the community, in the Helium community. I mean, we have the Srcful community now on Discord, but this will kind of be a mix between the Srcful community that is pretty much focused on this, but also in the end, the Helium community will be like integrated in some way. So try to get involved in discussions on both sides if you're really interested in what we are doing.
And also expect that like things will go quick. Like we are a startup. We have a very, very clear path ahead on what we're trying to build. We have a vision, but the thing here is that the execution will most likely be a little bit like this, especially during the next couple of months. So that is what I'm trying to say, is that we need your feedback. Those of you that are like early adopters, that you're like, if you're listening to this, you're definitely early. Well, if there is anything like, okay, this would be a killer feature, this would be something that I would like love if you could implement, please tell, because we don't know all the answers. If we would, then we would probably be a multi-billion-dollar company already. We are trying to change things and for the better, I would say. So there might be some interesting ideas that will come up very soon. I would say, at least in Sweden, as we will be starting in. So I could probably hint that this will be a way for people to participate without owning PV, without owning batteries, and you could live in an apartment somewhere in Sweden and still sign up for a service, which would be very interesting if you're into this space. And energy-related service, I would say. So maybe I've already hinted too much. Let's announce this in a proper way soon, but this is something that we're working on, and this will be super exciting, I would say. So actually bringing some real value to people that are not invested in PV, solar, batteries, and those things, and living in, like, we can bring some real substantial value and grow the user base with, I would say, a consumer-friendly product. That's what we're aiming at.
Great.
Yeah, that's quite the hint.
Yeah, and that's a cliffhanger as well. So, anything else, Joachim, or do you think we are finished for today?
I think we can actually wrap it up. Though I should mention, I've had questions regarding the Srcful community and our Discord, whether it will be consumed by the Helium Discord or things like that. And no, we will keep our own Discord, mainly for like support and things like that, because it doesn't really make sense cluttering Helium's Discord with such things. So we will keep our Discord.
Yeah, and also, like, this makes sense now. In 6 months, 12 months, we actually don't know the answer. I mean, that's also a way to see it. But at this point, it really makes sense for us to have like these technical discussions in different channels in our own community. And we'll try to update both. I know that Joachim, you're very active in both, and we'll try to bring them together, like, even though they are two. So if there is an announcement in our server, yeah, obviously we'll try to push it also into the Helium Discord and vice versa.
So no one misses out.
Yeah.
No one will miss out. And remember, your energy.
Your power.
Your power.
Step into the neon lights. Let's take a ride into the grid where the future is alive. We're talking now, the Web3 revolution. go.